The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Okay, really quick. Do you guys remember this?
This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
All right, of course you guys remember that. That's General Wesley Clark. That was 2007, talking about that meeting at the Pentagon in 2002. And again, remember, he rattled off those 7 countries.
Starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
So now listen to this. This was from a Senate congressional meeting that took place. I think it was a couple weeks ago. It didn't really get a lot of press, but it's getting a lot of videos now on Instagram. So give this a listen. And remember those 7 countries. And again, remember that was 2007 and him talking about invading those 7 countries over the next 5 years from 2002, okay? Now listen to this in 2025 and listen to the countries that our government has been funding.
Roman, are you aware that we are sending $40 million a week to the Taliban?
This was February 26th of this year. So this is Tim Burchett, a U.S. Congress member, asking some guy whose last name is Roman. So again, this first one's like, are you aware we're sending $40 million a week to the Taliban in Afghanistan?
Yes, sir. Can you name other instances of foreign aid going to terrorist organizations?
So the guy's name is Greg Roman. He's the executive director of the Middle East Forum. That's like one of the groups that heads up relations with the Middle East. So now listen to this. Listen to the rest of the countries that he says we've assisted.
We have assisted al-Shabaab in Somalia. There's been instances of the Khamsi network in Sudan, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, Kataib al-Hezbollah, Hayat Tahrir al-Shams in Syria. Dozens of terror organizations have received indirect assistance from U.S. foreign aid.
So basically, over the past 20-something years, those pretty much same exact countries that General Wesley Clark said we were going to implement regime change in the United States. Actually, it's probably through that USAID program or USAID, whatever, the thing that supposedly, Doge and Elon and crew have gotten rid of. But basically, over the past 20 years, we've pretty much been funding both sides of the equation. And we've been funding the terrorist side or the quote unquote supposed terrorist side, and then funding probably the other side as well, because that entire area in the Middle East has just been chaos, nonstop chaos for 20 years. Anyway, somebody sent me that and they were like, hey, you got to check this out. I didn't even know who it was, actually. It was somebody that randomly sent it to me on Instagram. And they're like, I listened to one of your episodes. I mean, I know who the profile is, but it's like a burner profile. And they're like, you should play this on your podcast. And I was like, that's awesome. I am going to play that on my podcast. And then when I listened to it, because I've listened to that General Wesley Clark speech so many times, I was like, oh my God, this totally rings a bell. And so I kind of matched up the countries, and as you could see, they are pretty well aligned. Here, I'm going to play that entire clip because I know I interrupted, but I think just to drive it home, let's listen to the entire Senate congressional 30 seconds without me interrupting.
Roman, are you aware that we are sending $40 million a week to the Taliban?
Yes, sir.
Can you name other instances of foreign aid going to terrorist organizations?
We have assisted al-Shabaab in Somalia. There's been instances of the Khamsi network in Sudan, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, Kataib al-Hezbollah, Hayat Tahrir al-Shams in Syria. Dozens of terror organizations have received indirect assistance from U.S. foreign aid.
And just to drive it home,
Starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
I was going to find that clip from Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise and A Few Good Men and put in, "You can't handle the truth." And then say, yes, I can. I can handle the truth. And I want the truth. That's what I want. Dude, this stuff is insane. I mean, it is insane. The amount of money that has been spent on just all of this. It's unbelievable. Oh my God. Think about it. This has been taking place for 20 something years. Gosh, probably 50 something years. Add up the 200 billion to Ukraine, the 300 and something billion over the past 40 something years to Israel, all this money from USAID that's basically been sent, creating these insurgencies and these regimes and these counter regimes and like just all of the mayhem. I mean, seriously, imagine all of that money poured back into the United States infrastructure over the past 60 years. The US would just be, God, it would be spotless. It would be absolutely spotless. Man, this stuff is insane. Anyway, I wanted to kind of play that. I'm going to talk about a few other things today. I am going to air the episode actually with Richard Gage, the 9/11 architect, the lead architect in the 9/11, the original 9/11 architects and engineers team. And then I guess he got kind of, I don't know what the story was with why he left that. But the bottom line is, man, this video or this interview that I did with him, I'm actually going to air it on Instagram and Facebook Live. And so if you guys are on those platforms today, well, tonight on Instagram and Facebook, I'll air them on my personal page and the Deep Shallow Dive page. And then Thursday, it'll go live everywhere. And, this is one where I would say if you guys listen on Spotify or YouTube, you'll be able to see the video because we did kind of like a screen share. And man, the presentation that Richard put together is just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. Now, again, you can pretty much get it all if you're just listening. But if you have the ability on this one to look at it on Spotify, because Spotify allows the video, or then to look at it on YouTube, I would recommend that so you could actually take in the visuals. If not, don't worry about it. Trust me, it's so insane the way he lays it out that even without video and just audio, you're just going to be shaking your head. So anyway, that's going to be that. All right, let me see what else I want to play. Oh, you know what? Let me play maybe one or two clips. I definitely want to play this one. So there's a guy named Curt Weldon. Actually, this totally ties into 9/11. So Curt Weldon was like a former Republican congressman that was kind of a big deal. And basically did I talk about this already? I might have mentioned it last week. He did an interview with Tucker Carlson. Anyway, this guy this interview with Tucker Carlson has been seen 12 million times now. And he is now coming out and being very outspoken about basically calling out the shenanigans in regards to 9/11 and said it was a false flag and we were sold a bill of goods. And I will say him and Tucker do not directly come out and point the finger at somebody. But again, I think that is very strategic of them. But the entire interview with Curt Weldon, the former congressman, is really good. Let me play this part because this is funny, man. Listen to, random Curt Weldon. Listen to what he's talking about here.
It's like Libya. We were the ones that caused Gaddafi's death because Hillary Clinton played a game over there. And I was the one that went over there during the war. Gaddafi asked me to come over. I took a Biden staffer and a Bush staffer and a film crew leader from ABC One in New York, Larry Menti, with me, and a cameraman because I didn't want the CIA to set me up. I hand carried the letter back from Gaddafi offering to resign. The U.S. didn't want him to resign. They wanted to kill him.
Why?
because Gaddafi, and I met him 3 times. I took Biden on my second trip to Libya, by the way. He went with me when I spoke to the whole country. At every meeting I had with Gaddafi, he wanted 2 things. He wanted to unite the African continent into a group of nations economically, like European like the European economy. He wanted to base it on the gold standard. And the U.S. and Europe didn't want that. And the other thing is they wanted control of his oil, and they wanted control of his sovereign wealth. So Gaddafi had to go. That's outrageous, and it's wrong.
I mean, seriously, how crazy is this? That's all the things we talked about in the Gaddafi episode. And, you know, in terms of uniting the African countries under the dinar and getting rid of the petrodollar, you know, all of that, the oil, all of that. So, like, dude, this stuff is insane. This stuff is insane. It is so evil and bad. All right, hold on. Let me see if I can find another nice clip from this Curt Weldon interview. I mean, this thing is definitely getting a lot of traction. Ironically, the guy Richard Gage, who is the architect who I interviewed, I told him about this and he said, "Yeah, I know Curt. We're really close friends." So I'm like, "Get on Tucker. Holy mackerel." So who knows? Richard Gage might, if he goes from Deep Shallow Dive to Tucker Carlson, I'm totally going to take credit for that.
So you're saying elements of the U.S. government worked really, really hard to hide the fact that they could have prevented 9/11.
What I can tell you unequivocally is there was a cover-up.
All right. Anyway, if you want to watch the rest of that, go to Tucker Carlson. It's the guy, Curt Weldon. All right. Let's see. Today is Clips Day. Let me get some more clips in. All right. This next one is from a guy that I used to know from 2016. I don't really know this guy anymore, but man, he was good while he lasted. I think he's talking about when he says she, either Hillary Clinton or Nancy Pelosi. But give this a listen, and he is being interviewed by Wolf Blitzer.
I was surprised that she didn't do more in terms of Bush and going after Bush. It was almost, it just seemed like she was going to really look to impeach Bush and get him out of office, which personally I think would have been a wonderful thing.
Impeaching him?
Absolutely, for the war. For the war.
Because of the conduct of the war.
Well, he lied. He got us into the war with lies. And, I mean, look at the trouble Bill Clinton got into with something that was totally unimportant. And they tried to impeach him, which was nonsense. And yet Bush got us into this horrible war with lies, by lying, by saying they had weapons of mass destruction, by saying all sorts of things that turned out not to be true.
Turned out not to be true, he said. Man, I miss that guy. Anyway, how did George W. Bush never get impeached? That's pretty wild, man. That is pretty wild. And the wilder thing is, all of a sudden, nowadays, he's like that goofy uncle. I guess kind of like me. He's like that goofy uncle that everybody loves. Like, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. You know, Clinton gets impeached for Cigargate with Monica Lewinsky. Was that what he got impeached for? Or was it something else? Anyway, Trump gets impeached. How did George W. Bush never get impeached for lying about weapons of mass destruction, taking us into what ended up being a 20-year forever war? It's insane, people. I think that is the theme of today's episode. It is just insane. All right, let's play another clip. Let's move over to pop culture a little. I think I need to start talking a little more pop culture. There's this girl on TikTok. She goes by DJ Hungry Human. Man, this girl is hilarious. She won't reply to me. I think she thinks I'm hitting on her, which I'm not actually. But like, I'm trying to get her attention because I'd love for her to be like a weekly segment, because man, this girl is like Entertainment Tonight, Extra, Access Hollywood, and TMZ all rolled into one. She like has her finger on the pulse of pop culture, and I really don't have my finger on that pulse anymore. So I'm trying to get her to come on to do like weekly updates. But in the meantime, I will start adding that to the mix. Okay, Justin Bieber, this poor kid, man, this poor kid, he is just what it seems to be getting, just taken through the ringer. Or what is that expression? Taken through the ringer? ringed through the ringer. What the hell? What is that expression? But I will tell you, I'm going to play something from James Lee, a guy I've had on the podcast before who does some really good investigative reporting. But Candace Owens also did a little kind of like connect the dots where she talked about Michael Jackson to Prince to Kanye and Justin Bieber. And I will say, I don't know too much about Prince, but I know the other three. You know, the one common theme these guys have is they try to get out of Hollywood and they try to get out of the music industry. And that is definitely not as easy as one might think.
Justin Bieber is finding out just what happens to you when you try to walk away from the system that built you. Because right now, if you Google anything about Justin Bieber, it is all negative. They're saying his marriage is on the rocks, that he's in tens of millions of dollars of debt. The Hollywood Reporter is insinuating that he's suffering from a crisis in faith. But is any of that actually true? Because if we zoom out, we know that for years, Justin has been trying to get out of these horrible contracts that he signed with these record companies when he was a young kid, including trying to get out of a contract with his longtime manager, Scooter Braun. And over the past couple days, there have been rumors flying around online about a publicist named Stephanie Jones and how she's coordinating this attack against Justin Bieber, this smear campaign, on behalf of her client, Scooter Braun. And this morning, I got off the phone with a source very close to Justin's team, confirming that that rumor is true. Justin is trying to extricate himself from these contracts, and now Hollywood is fighting back. And Stephanie Jones, who represents a bunch of celebrities, including Tom Brady, let's just say if she's not your friend, she's your enemy. She's described as taking this no-holds-bar approach, super aggressive. She calls it championing the causes of our clients. Her PR team was at the heart of the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni drama, and now it seems that she's got her crosshairs on Justin Bieber. Now look, it's easy to write this off as celebrity drama. Rich people with rich people problems. But to me, this is really a universal story about what happens to people when they take on the system. Whether it's entertainment, finance, politics, the system will always work overtime to destroy them. And I'm choosing to talk about this now because every time a story like this gets exposed, the system loses a little bit of its power. And when enough of us are finally looking, that's when we have a chance to really take the system down.
I don't know, James. That system is pretty strong, man. That system's pretty strong. Anyway, he's totally right, though. If you Google anything with Justin Bieber, man, it is like a coordinated negative campaign against him. So anyway, I like that kid. I really do. I think he's been through some stuff that'll give you nightmares probably. I really do think oh man, I don't even want to talk about it. But anyway, let's hope he pulls out of it. I really do hope he gets through this and gets out. Kind of like Ricky Schroeder. Remember that guy? Silver Spoons, Ricky Schroeder? He got out of Hollywood. Man, he really got out of Hollywood. I think like he did Silver Spoons and he's like, that's enough. Kirk Cameron, kind of the same thing. Wait, what was Kirk Cameron in? What was he in? I was about to say Family Ties, but that was Michael J. Fox. It was Growing Pains. Remember that show? Growing Pains. That was a great show. I like that show. And then Different Strokes. How good was Different Strokes? What you talking about, Willis? That was a good show. Man, Different Strokes, Family Ties, Growing Pains, At Night. What about Dynasty and Dallas? J.R. Ewing. Who shot J.R.? Who shot that bastard? I forget. Who the hell did shoot J.R.? But Dynasty, man, those were like the original Cougars or like the original MILFs on Dynasty. What was that lady's name? Joan Collins? And then who played Crystal Carrington? Oh man, can't remember. Linda Evans? Was that her name? Man, I am really reaching into the grab bag today. All right, let me see what else I want to play. Oh, you know what? Here's a quick clip from Matt Gaetz. I don't think I've played it before, but I've wanted to play it. Now remember, remember, Matt Gaetz is the only person of Trump's initial cabinet picks that did not get approved, okay? And I've talked about this before. He was the only one that really was critical of Israel. He really was. And so, again, he did not get approved. He was the only one that didn't get approved. We've talked about how the cabinet is very pro-Israel. I think Elijah Kallenberg spelled that out nicely. But listen to this on a recent podcast that he did with this, again, conservative guy, Benny Johnson. I love how these guys play dumb, but listen to this.
I actually think that on Epstein, it was a foreign government that took him out. I don't think it was a domestic enterprise. Really? I do. I'm not going to say which one, but I don't think it was domestic inspired to take out of him. I think that was a foreign operation, government sponsored.
So foreign operation took out Epstein inside of our prison?
Yes.
So they must have been allowed to.
Oh, I think it was in concert with people in our government.
Wow.
But not at like some, low level guard getting bribed kind of way.
Yeah.
At a state to state level.
All right, connect those dots, people. Connect them. I'm not even gonna spell it out for you, because you know what? You guys you're at a point where you can do that all on your own. All right, there's that. Let me see what else. All right, you know what? We're at 21 minutes. I will play one last clip. By the way, I still have like 50 clips that I want to play for you guys, but I will do that. I will try to start clipping out. But all right, one last clip from my girl Candace. It's just a good one. Man, she's got so many good ones. God, she is a monster now. She really is a monster. Like, her social media following is just insane. Like, it is insane. I watched her podcast yesterday, and so she does it live on YouTube and Rumble. And at one point, there were 27,000 people in her chat on YouTube. Think about that. Seriously, think about that. That is an enormous number to be watching somebody live on YouTube. 27,000 people were watching her live on YouTube and chatting it up in the chat. That's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. All right. Call a spade a spade. I will play this clip from Candace because she hits on the warmonger, neoconservative, neocons, whom I am not a fan of, as you guys know. But give this a listen. More to come. And then on Thursday, I think you'll really enjoy the interview with Richard Gage, the 9/11 architect. Not that he was the architect of 9/11. He's the architect that basically will make you realize it is highly unlikely that Building 7 fell from a fire. By the way, some people don't even know that there was a Building 7. How insane is that? Are you one of them? Did you know there was a third building that fell and that was not hit by a plane, but that building fell 7 hours later, that fateful day? Well, that's Building 7, if you did not know. All right, Candace, call a spade. Talk to you soon.
Everyone knows who these neocons are, who want to keep Americans drummed up, go to war. These people who can't fight the wars, they cry when someone points out accurately that they're clinically obese. They can't fight the wars, but your sons and daughters better fight the wars, guys. God forbid you have a person on a platform telling you, no, this is stupid. We don't need to be involved in Bibi Netanyahu's Middle East BS and expansion policies. Okay, they don't have the people, so they want you to be the people that go die for it and are trying to marry you to those ideas in the classroom, on podcasts, via the media. And because their relationship and your trust in the media has been fractured, they now have to work on trying to fracture your trust in people like me and Tucker Carlson. This is the new vibe. He sounds like an Iranian propagandist when he says don't die in Iran. When he says that obviously no person should send their kids to die in the Middle East because this has been our policy, our flatline policy for the last decades, and nothing good has come of it. Literally nothing good has come of it. They can't even pretend anything good has come of it. Look around, look at your streets. Look at your country. Is your country cleaner? Is your country better for having fought Israel's wars for decades? Oh, that's anti-Semitic. You all sicken me. I just want to say it again. You all sicken me. I'm done with the hit pieces. I'm done with you coming after my family. Leave us the F alone. Okay? Leave us alone. I don't care anymore.
That was a great way to end it.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.